My name is Gina. I'm 38 years old and I own a wedding dress shop in the city. I love my job. My husband, Alex, is an architect, and we have 2 kids, Sam and Olivia, who are both in grade school. They keep us busy, but in a good way. Family, though, can be tricky. I get along well with Alex's parents and his younger brother, Mike. But his older sister, Carol, is a different story. She's 42, has been married 3 times, and is always looking for husband number 4. If there were an easy way to deal with her, I would have found it by now. Let me describe a typical family dinner at my in-laws' house. The dining room is cozy and well-lit, full of conversation. Alex's mom is as sweet as ever, putting food on the table. Mike and his wife, Jane, are helping with the kids, keeping them busy. And then there's Carol, lounging dramatically on a chair with a glass of red wine, talking loudly enough to overpower everyone else. Carol, waving her glass, says, "So Gina, still playing dress-up with those brides? When are you going to design something real, like haute couture or something?" I hold back my response, focusing on serving mashed potatoes. I've learned that arguing with Carol only makes things worse. Mike jumps in, trying to change the topic. "Hey Carol, heard you're planning another wedding. What's the lucky guy like?" Carol smirks. "Oh, you know, successful, rich, the usual. Not that you'd get it, little brother." Jane gives me a sympathetic look. She knows what it's like to deal with Carol. We exchange a knowing eye roll. The dinner continues with the usual mix of jokes and jabs, especially from Carol. She's skilled at making conversations about herself. Alex catches my eye and gives me an encouraging nod. We're a team, and handling Carol is just one of the challenges we face together as a family. As the evening winds down and we say our goodbyes, I hug my mother-in-law tightly, feeling her support. Driving home, Alex reaches for my hand. "You okay?" "Yeah," I sigh, watching the city lights blur past. "Just another day, right?" "Right." Alex agrees warmly. "But we have each other, and that's what matters." He's right. Despite the drama with Carol, we have a strong bond and our own little world. One typical Thursday morning, I was busy in my atelier sketching a new design idea. The studio was peaceful, with only the gentle hum of the sewing machine where Lisa, my assistant, was working on an urgent order. That's when my phone rang. It was Jane, Mike's wife. "Hey Gina, guess what? You won't believe what I just heard." Jane's voice crackled mischievously over the phone. I leaned back, eager for a break from the morning routine. "Tell me, what's the scoop?" "So, Carol's tying the knot again. 4th time's a charm, right?" Jane chuckled, and I couldn't help but join in. "Seriously? Again? What's the story this time? Did she find another rich guy looking for a trophy wife?" I asked, half-jokingly. "Exactly. Some big-shot real estate guy from out of town. She's planning another extravagant wedding. Get ready, because you might get the call for a dress soon," Jane warned. I sighed, imagining the headache ahead. "Thanks for the heads up. I better stock up on aspirin and patience." Lisa, from her sewing station, chimed in, having caught the gist of the conversation. "Not Carol again. Her last dress was a nightmare with all those changes she kept making to the lace." "Yeah, I remember," I said, rubbing my temples at the memory. "Let's hope she finds a different designer this time." But fate and Carol had other plans. Just after I finished talking with Jane, the doorbell of my atelier rang, announcing a visitor. Speak of the devil, and there she was. Carol swept into my shop, draped in a designer scarf and oversized sunglasses. Her mother, Helen, followed behind, looking apologetic. "Gina, darling, I need your magic touch again." "We're planning another wedding," Carol announced loudly, taking off her sunglasses and eyeing my shop with barely hidden disdain. I plastered on a smile, masking my reluctance. "Carol, congratulations on your engagement. But are you sure you want to go through the dressmaking process with me again? Last time was quite eventful." "Oh, come on. Who else in this town can handle my impeccable taste? Plus, you owe me for not completely botching the last dress," Carol retorted, her laugh sharp and brief. Helen gave me a pleading look. "Gina, dear, I know Carol can be a handful, but we really need your help. You know, family." "Yeah, family." I repeated the word, family, the bitterness evident in my tone. "Okay, Carol, let's see what we can come up with. But this time we're doing things my way. Deal?" Carol pursed her lips, clearly displeased with the conditions, but reluctantly agreed. "Fine, but I have specific ideas this time. It needs to be spectacular, more spectacular than before." As they left, I turned to Lisa, who was grinning. What did I do to deserve this? Lisa shrugged sympathetically. "Who knows? But if anyone can handle Carol's drama, it's you." The rest of the day blurred by with fabrics and sketches, but Carol's upcoming 4th wedding and the troublesome gown occupied my mind. The next week, true to her word, Carol burst into my atelier with a thick folder under her arm and determination in her eyes. Helen followed, her smile strained, clearly prepared for her daughter's demands. "Okay, Gina, I've scoured Pinterest and Instagram. I know exactly what I want this time. It's going to be bold, beautiful, and a little scandalous, Carol declared, slamming the folder onto my work table and flipping it open to reveal a collection of extravagant wedding dress designs. I took a deep breath, browsing through her selections. Carol, these designs, they're quite bold and youthful. Are you absolutely sure this is the direction you want to go? What's that supposed to mean, Gina? You think I can't rock these styles? Carol snapped sharply. No, Carol, it's not that. These designs are just very revealing. Maybe we can adjust them to better suit your taste, I suggested, hoping to find common ground. Carol brushed off my concerns. I know exactly what I want, Gina, and I want something that will wow everyone. So can you make it happen or not? Reluctantly, I nodded and grabbed my sketch pad. Okay, let's refine these ideas a bit. How about we start with the silhouette? We can find something that really flatters your figure. As I began sketching, Carol leaned over my shoulder, offering her feedback with all the subtlety of a bulldozer. No, that's too conservative. I want something low-cut with high slits. Think sexy, Gina, think. And it has to be pure white, bright white. I paused, pencil hovering. White again, Carol. You wore white at your last 3 weddings. Maybe we could try something different, like a soft peach or a bold red. Carol slammed her hand down. White, Gina. I won't settle for anything less. And add lots of crystals and pearls, loads of them. The fitting sessions that followed were just as intense. Each time Carol came in, she demanded changes. More beads here, less stitching there. Make it more fabulous, Gina. It's not hitting the mark yet. Each request came with a please that sounded more like a command. One afternoon, after a particularly exhausting session where Carol insisted the neckline wasn't deep enough for the 3rd time, I vented to Lisa, who had been by my side through it all. Lisa, if I have to redraw that neckline one more time, I might just turn that dress into a curtain. Lisa chuckled, handing me a cup of tea. Hang in there, boss. It's almost over. And hey, at least it'll be a wedding no one will forget, especially with Carol wearing one of your designs. As I returned to my sketches, tweaking yet another detail, I braced myself for the next fitting. Carol's wedding was approaching rapidly, and I had a feeling the real drama was still ahead. Today was crucial. I had just finished calculating the costs for her elaborate gown, and it was time to discuss the numbers. Carol swept into the atelier with her usual dramatic flair, leaving a trail of expensive perfume in her wake. Her mother, Helen, followed quietly, wearing an expression that suggested she'd rather be anywhere else. Okay, Gina, let's see if you've impressed me this time, Carol declared, barely sparing a glance at the sketches and fabric samples laid out for her approval. I took a deep breath and handed her the detailed invoice. Here's the breakdown, Carol. Considering the materials and labor, the total comes to $2,500. I've already applied a 30% family discount. Carol's eyes widened as she glanced over the document. She slammed it onto the table, causing a spool of thread to tumble to the floor with a clatter. Listen, Gina, I'm marrying a top businessman. My wedding will be full of wealthy, influential guests. Think of this as a prime advertising opportunity for your business. You should be paying me to wear your dress. I stared at her in disbelief. Paying you, Carol? I've already given you a significant discount. I can't afford to give away dresses, even for family. Helen tried to intervene, her voice gentle. Carol, dear, Gina has been very fair with the pricing. Let's not. Carol interrupted sharply, her frustration apparent. No, Mom, this is ridiculous. I'm doing her a favor. She should appreciate it. The tension in the room was thick. I crossed my arms, holding her gaze firmly. Carol, I understand your perspective, but running my business isn't a hobby. I have bills to pay and employees to compensate. I can't give away products for free, regardless of the exposure. Carol's face flushed with anger. Then forget it. I'll find someone else who values the opportunity. As she stormed out, Helen lingered, her expression apologetic. I'm so sorry, Gina. I'll talk to her. I sighed heavily, feeling a mix of frustration and relief as Helen followed Carol out of the shop. The rest of the day passed in a blur of small tasks, my mind replaying the tense confrontation over and over. When I got home, I recounted everything to Alex. Alex was visibly upset. She can't take advantage of your hard work like that, Gina. It's not fair to you or your team. Later that evening, just as Alex and I were getting ready for bed, my phone rang. It was Helen, her voice soft and weary. Gina, I've been thinking about this afternoon. Carol was being unreasonable, but could we still make this work? Maybe as a wedding gift. It would mean a lot. Her request caught me off guard. After a moment's pause, I agreed despite the day's turmoil. All right, Helen, I'll do it. The dress will be my gift to Carol. Designing Carol's wedding dress had turned my atelier into a battlefield of demands and alterations. Each fitting with Carol drained me more than the last. My staff, tired of her behavior, started timing their breaks to avoid her visits. Lisa, my lead assistant, whispered to me as she grabbed her purse, "We're taking a break. Let us know when she's gone." Carol rolled her eyes as they left. They're so sensitive. You'd think they'd be used to criticism in this business. Trying to maintain peace, I continued pinning the dress while Carol went on about her extravagant wedding plans. The tension in the room was palpable, and I silently counted down the minutes until she would leave. A week before the wedding, my phone buzzed. It was Paula, a close friend who also knew Carol well. "Hey, are you excited about the wedding? I saw the guest list. It's going to be quite the event." I paused, holding a needle in midair. "The guest list? I haven't seen it yet. Can you send it to me? I'm curious about who's coming." "Sure, I'll email it to you now," Paula replied before ending the call. When the email arrived, I scrolled through the names, only to realize my name was nowhere on it. I wasn't invited. The realization hit me harder than I expected. Later that evening, I brought it up with Alex. His expression darkened as he listened. "She didn't invite you after everything you've done for her." "Apparently not," I muttered, feeling a mix of hurt and frustration. Together we called Carol, hoping for a misunderstanding, but the conversation quickly turned tense. "Carol, Jenna isn't on the guest list. Is this a mistake?" Alex asked, his voice firm. Carol's mocking laughter echoed through the phone. "No mistake. Gemma is just the seamstress. Why would she be at the wedding? It's for important people." I could feel my heart racing, my grip tightening on the phone. "But I've been making your dress as a gift, Carol." More laughter followed. "Yeah, thanks for the dress, but let's not pretend you belong at my wedding, Gina. Just stay home." Alex erupted in anger. "How can you be so ungrateful? She's your family." Carol abruptly hung up, leaving Alex pacing the room, furious at his sister's callousness. I sat there, feeling the weight of the situation sink in. The dress I had poured weeks into, the stress I had endured, all for someone who couldn't even acknowledge me at her wedding. It was a painful betrayal, cutting deeper than any harsh word she had ever uttered. A week later at the final fitting, Carol breezed into the atelier as if nothing had happened. She was all smiles and demands, acting as though she hadn't just excluded me from one of the most significant days of her life. As we adjusted the dress, I maintained a facade of professionalism, hiding the hurt brewing inside. I had quietly resolved on a plan for subtle justice, something to reclaim a small sense of dignity without causing a scene. "Oh, and I'll need to make one final adjustment to the dress at my workshop," I mentioned casually as I helped Carol out of the gown. "I'll bring it to your place on the morning of the wedding." Always rushed, Carol barely nodded. "Just make sure it's early. I have a tight schedule and I can't afford any delays." "I understand," I replied evenly. "You can count on it being there on time." On the morning of the wedding, Alex and I arrived at Carol's house with the beautifully packaged dress in hand. My heart raced, not out of nerves for the event, but from anticipation of her discovering my small surprise. Carol greeted us coldly at the door, snatching the dress box without a word of thanks. "Alex, you can stay. Gina, you should leave now. We wouldn't want to upset the important guests," she said icily. I maintained my smile, concealing the hurt her words caused. "Of course, Carol. Have a wonderful day." Alex glared at her, clearly upset, but he squeezed my hand and chose to leave with me. As we walked back to the car, his support gave me strength. Meanwhile, Mike and Jane, who were also attending the wedding, overheard how Carol treated us. Outraged, they decided then and there to skip the ceremony. Mike came over to our car before we could drive away. "I can't believe she treated you like that, Gina. We're not staying either. It's one thing to be demanding about your wedding, but it's another to be outright cruel," Mike said, clearly upset. As we tried to lighten the mood, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Paula, who had stayed at the wedding. "Something's up. Carol looks furious. Did you do something?" the text read. I couldn't help but smirk. Just a little wedding gift. Alex and I had just settled down with our morning coffee, finally enjoying a quiet moment, when a sharp ring of the doorbell shattered the peace. We exchanged looks, sensing the day wasn't quite over. I opened the door to find Carol standing there, red-faced and furious, clutching a simple piece of cloth. Her mother, Helen, stood beside her, a mix of embarrassment and frustration on her face. Carol's fiancé, a stern-looking man, hovered in the background, his expression grim. "What is this, Gina?" Carol thrust the cloth at me as if it were damning evidence. "Explain this now." I took a deep breath, my resolve unwavering. "That's your wedding dress, Carol. Considering your behavior and how you've treated everyone, that piece of cloth seems more than fair." Her face contorted with anger. Carol stepped closer, her hand raised as if to strike. "You've ruined my wedding," I shuled. Helen intervened, catching her daughter's arm mid-air. "Carol, stop this right now. Violence won't solve anything." Her fiancé finally spoke up, his voice firm and cold. "I can't do this, Carol. You've shown your true colors. The wedding is off." With that, he turned and walked away without looking back. "No, please don't leave," Carol pleaded, her voice cracking with anger and desperation. But he didn't stop, disappearing around the corner. Left standing with only her mother, Carol redirected her fury towards me. "Look what you've done. Are you happy now? You've ruined everything." Before I could respond, she stormed off, her mother following after her with an apologetic glance back at us. Closing the door, I leaned against it, feeling Alex's hand on my shoulder. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Yeah, just shaken," I admitted, and we moved back to the living room, trying to process the rapid unraveling of the evening. It wasn't long before my phone rang again. I answered to hear Jane on the other end, her voice urgent. "Gina, you won't believe it. Carol's refusing to pay the wedding organizers now, and it's turned into a huge mess. They've called the police." My heart sank. Oh no, that sounds awful. Did they really have to call the police? Yes. She was causing a scene, screaming at them, demanding her money back since the wedding didn't go through. It escalated quickly, Jane explained. As I hung up, I sank heavily into a chair, guilt gnawing at me. Maybe I went too far, Alex. This all feels like it's spiraling out of control. Alex sat beside me, taking my hand. "You stood up for yourself, Gina. Carol's behavior has been unacceptable from the start. This is on her, not you." Despite his reassurance, I couldn't shake the pang of sympathy for Carol. She was family, difficult as she was. After the tumult of Carol's failed wedding day, life slowly returned to normal, but the dynamics within our family had changed irreversibly. Alex and I decided to cut off contact with Carol. The fallout wasn't just a cancelled wedding. It had revealed deeper issues in our family that had been ignored for too long. One quiet Sunday morning, Helen joined us for coffee. The tension in the room was palpable as she walked in, but her first words broke the ice. "I want you to know, Gina, I'm not upset with you. If anything, I blame myself for how Carol turned out. I've always given in to her, ever since she was little. I've spoiled her." I poured her a cup of coffee, and we sat at the kitchen table, a gentle breeze playing with the curtains. "Helen, you can't blame yourself for Carol's choices. She's an adult now, and she has to take responsibility for her actions." Helen took a sip of her coffee, her eyes filled with sadness. "You're right, Gina. It's just so difficult. She's my daughter, and it hurts to see her making these mistakes." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "I understand. You love her deeply, but sometimes tough love is necessary. Maybe this will be a turning point for her." The conversation shifted as Helen updated us on the latest rumors about Carol. Apparently she had amassed significant debts, counting on a grand wedding to a wealthy groom to improve her financial and social status. Now that the wedding was off and the groom had left, she was allegedly avoiding creditors. "It's a mess," Helen confessed, shaking her head. "She's keeping a low profile, trying to sort things out. I just don't know how she plans to handle all the money she owes." Alex, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. "Mom, it's a tough situation, but maybe facing these consequences will be a turning point for her. She might learn to be more independent and stop relying on others to bail her out." Our conversation delved deep, blending regret with a glimmer of hope. It was evident that Helen struggled with balancing her love for Carol and her frustration with her actions. Before she left, Helen embraced me tightly. "Thank you, Gina, for being honest and handling everything with such grace. I'm sorry it had to come to this." I hugged her back, offering reassurance. "It's okay, Helen. We're family and we'll find a way through this. It might take time, but we'll work things out." After Helen departed, Alex and I spent the rest of the day in contemplative silence. The situation with Carol had left a lasting impression, reminding us of the complexities within family relationships and the valuable lessons that can emerge from confronting difficult realities.